It's going on. We should be good now.
Boom.
Wait. Okay. So I think, Daniel, I think the reason why this was a harder case for me is because I wasn't like super passionate about it. I wasn't like, oh, they're so wrong or they're so right, or it was more like, hey, what do they do? And I'm like, well, crap, what do they do? But so I'm just gonna read the quick synopsis real quick of the case. So it's the case describes the dilemma of founder and CEO Aaron Kennedy as he seeks to grow the company from within while balancing the pressure of other competitors trying to push their way into the fast casual food category. As they grow, they face a difficult decision on how to meet the pace of the budding company while maintaining their culture. So, first question, just as in a review, is what is a fast casual segment? Do you guys remember? I can just say it, but it's just a restaurant that offers high-quality foods sold at moderate prices with counter rather than table service. So it's quicker, but it's still higher quality. Sorry, Morgan said she gets a black screen. Are we on? Did you guys see that?
Yeah.
I don't know how to fix that.
She's getting a black screen?
Mm-hmm. She said when she clicks join, she gets a black screen.
Huh. That's so weird. Maybe I can text a link to this.
What?
Maybe I can text her a link to this.
Okay.
Let's see.
While you're doing that, we'll just continue on because it is live. Okay, so what do you guys think that the challenge is, so what is the challenge facing Noodles & Company within the segment? Oh, there she is.
Hi.
Hey!
How is everybody?
Good.
Great. How are you?
Good. Did I miss anything?
We were just, and I just did the quick synopsis of the case. And CEO Noodles & Company is trying to grow the company with the pressures of competitors trying to push their way out and making difficult decisions on how to meet the company's goals for growing. So the fast casual segment review on that is the restaurants that offer high quality and creative foods at regular or moderate prices. So good quality, less money. So what do you guys think that the challenges that faces Noodle & Company with this segment?
Competition.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to keep up with, new flavors or new styles, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and especially because with what was that?
Recipes, that's the word.
What I was going to say that the food industry has it really hard because we're transitioning into this mode of, we used to be all about like convenient, I don't care what it is, and now we're like convenient, I want healthy. So that's a big transition, and we want it cheap too, and we want quality, which is like really hard with food.
And fast too.
Yeah. And fast, yeah. Can we get all of those?
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. I think that it's, just like you were saying, it's just hard because so many, there is such a demand for that so many companies are becoming like new things are starting up, trying to make it in that category, just making it, quick, good quality, and cheap. And so Noodles & Company has it because they already started, they've already got some kind of rapport with customers and stuff, but they have to continue competing. So we're going to kind of analyze Kennedy. So in like the beginning, I guess, of the business. So do you guys personally think that working full-time as an employee while developing a new business is a good or bad idea?
I think it's a safe idea for the fact that, you keep earning income every month. But I feel like at some point you just gotta, once you have the idea, you determine that that's what you want to do. At some point, you just gotta take the risk and just dedicate yourself full time to
Right.
that idea. Because, I mean, I've never started a business or anything, but it takes so much time. Well, I can only imagine how much time and just the seem like the most silly things that we wouldn't think about, you've got to think about those. So it's really time consuming. It takes, a lot of energy, and you just really got to be focused on that. That should be, your goal to make that idea successful. So I think that it's safe for a little bit, like while you're kind of testing the waters, like kind of exploring, you're still not sure what you want to do. But once you get the idea of what you want to do, then I think that you just gotta dive in.
I agree. Anyone else have anything?
I think it was good that he was up front with them, just saying like, hey, I'll help you for a little bit, but I'm working on starting a business. You can pay me less because of that, because I won't be here long term. And he was just really honest with them and brutally straight up say like, hey, I won't be here very long. But it worked out for him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Anyone want to say anything before I continue?
I think that it's hard to make a blanket statement about whether it's good or bad. I think it worked out for him in this circumstance because it was the right situation to pull it off. But you couldn't say that it always will work because each situation would be different.
Right, exactly. I was reading an article about the benefits and the drawbacks of starting your own business while working full time, and a lot of those, like you've mentioned, almost everything everyone has, is that it's good to have your full time job as a fallback. It's good to just be able to have that safety net, and it's also a good thing because once you quit your job, if things don't turn out, then you're just kind of out of luck, and so, or it's really difficult to get it back. But I thought it was interesting, the drawbacks of keeping a full-time job that I wouldn't have I don't think I would have thought of if I hadn't read it, is that you keep that job or that business as a hobby instead of living that, instead of putting everything into that. So it's more, you're less motivated. And so, it makes complete sense. When you have that safety net, it's like, why do I don't have to, do the sink or swim at all. There's no pressure. And so I think it's good to, if you want this to make this, a lifestyle, then I think it is good to quit your full-time job and put everything into it. But I agree with Mara that I think you should probably have a couple months at least where you can kind of see how it's going to play out, because if you quit your job and then say, I really want to do this, and then it's a complete flop, then yeah. So, Daniel, did you have something you're going to say?
I really agree with that. I think that from a business standpoint, if you want to make something happen in business, you have to be all in, and I think that's really evident, at least in this. And in sort of what you said as well with the sink and swim, like every business owner that I've seen be successful, they've been forced to quit their job because the business was doing so well, or else they had to quit their business in order to start the new one, their own business. They had to quit their job to do that because in reality, you just don't have enough mental capacity to do that. Like, I don't know about you guys, but after working 8 to 10 hours, I'm ready to come home and relax. And
Right.
I've done 18-hour days. Like that, it's hard work. So I just think that as human beings, it's sink or swim. You have to run your business, or you have to stay with your job.
Mm-hmm. I think especially if you have a family. I mean, if you've got kids you're coming home to, and if you have a husband or a wife or whatever you're doing, it would be really difficult to come home from a job and then have a business to do on the weekends and at night. And yeah, it would just be not very enjoyable, I don't think. And then it wouldn't turn into something you want to do. It would be something that you have to do, and then it wouldn't be enjoyable. And yeah.
And I think that you also have to make some sacrifices, you know, at some point. So either you sacrifice for your business or you sacrifice more for your job, I guess. So
True.
there's pros and cons to both, but I don't know. I just think it would be. It did work for him, but I think it would be smart looking at from with perspective to kind of just be all in, like Daniel was saying.
Well, and to Morgan's point, it depends on the type of business you're in. Like, I could very easily start a website selling T-shirts from China, and run that business on the side.
Right.
But I think of my brother, and going to Mars' point of sacrifice. My brother started a pest control company, and he worked 18-hour days for 5 years, and like now it's a $12 million company. So him and his wife were on the same page in building it, and because they had that common, they had made that together, that decision, they were able to make the sacrifices necessary to do that.
Right, and I think it's awesome what Bryant said about Kennedy being straight up with your full-time. I mean, if you have the luxury, I mean, some bosses are not that cool. You know, they're going to be like, no, it's either this or that. But if you have the luxury, if you have a good relationship with your boss, I think it is the most honest thing to do, and I think it's the right thing to do, to let him know, hey, if I'm going to sign on to this, I'm letting you know I am going to start my business, and so, you know, just let him know what's going on. Just be upfront with him. And so, yeah. I mean, it doesn't always work out that way. It doesn't always, you know, you can't always do that because they'd fire you or they'd, you know, find someone else or whatever. But if you can, I think that's the best way to handle it. So what do you guys think that turned Noodles and Company around? Because obviously Kennedy sacrificed a lot. He finally was just like sink or swim. And so he decided to quit his full-time job, do Noodles and Company, and it wasn't working out so well. What do you guys think changed that, turned it around?
I like what he said. He said, we pay a lot of attention to trying to understand exactly who our customers are and what they want from us, how they're using us and what they think of us. I just thought that detailed attention, that is what made them win. They delivered what the customer wanted.
Right. Anyone want to add anything to that? I think that was spot on, but
I agree. I think that trip to Chicago kind of led to some turning points, just because, yeah, they were able to see, yeah, just like Daniel said, what the customer really wanted and needed, and find that niche market where they set themselves apart from other restaurants. And I think, yeah, that trip, and after dumping water out of their basement and everything, I think they kind of hit rock bottom and said, okay, we got to either make the sink or swim.
right, and then they were able to create the mantra of every guest, every bowl, every time. So I feel like that really was the biggest turnaround. They, like Daniel said, they focused on the customer. They really tried to get to know that person, or the type of people that they're serving to. And I lost my train of thought, but we'll just keep going. So how does the every guest, every bowl, every time, how does that, it says, how does it drive corporate profits and structure?
I don't know about the structure part of it, but if you've got that mindset that every little detail matters for each customer, you can't go wrong with that. Your quality is always going to be superb. Your customer service every time is going to be superb, and that's how you're going to grow your business. So I think that just keeping in mind that all of the little details for that one customer that shows up, if they have a good experience, they're going to tell people about it. If they have a bad experience, they're going to tell people about it. And so your customers can be your, one of your greatest sources of advertising if you're doing it right.
Yeah. And going off of what she's saying, they didn't spend any money with like advertising. It seems like, right?
I don't remember reading much about advertising. Yeah.
I don't know where I got that from. But I think it mentioned in the case that they didn't do any advertising or marketing. It was just like by the word of mouth. I'll try to see if I can find it. But,
I think you're pretty. Yeah, I know they did do they kind of go into the geographic that where they're going and try to do with schools and other people and pass out flyers to
and then go
offices and stuff. But yeah, it was pretty all with that effective word of mouth. So
yeah. Anyway, but yeah, I mean it's really important that you have happy customers so they can give good reviews, not necessarily on your website, but just to their friends or their family or whoever, because that will bring in more customers.
Right. So on that, there isn't a question on this, but I was just thinking, how do you think Kennedy could, or I guess Noodles and Company altogether, could pass on that passion or that mantra, every guest, every bowl, every time, to their employees? I mean, I know they do the managers, they get bonuses and they depending on how well they do, but how it's not instilled. Have you guys ever worked somewhere that it's they say, I mean, honestly, I worked at Wells Fargo and they're really like, it's all about the customer, it's all about the customer, but in reality the feeling that I got was it's all about the numbers, and so how does Kennedy, in your guys' opinion, pass that mantra on and really make it a part of them, so that they take pride in Noodles and Company, I guess.
I know they talk about that as part of the training that they do with employees, or it was that even like your lowest level employees got some sort of bonus or something, some sort of financial incentive when their store did well.
Right. It did say that. It said that that every month or whatever, if the store did so well, then they would get it. But it was customer service based. But I'm just curious if there's another way to instill it other than financially, because it doesn't always work when it's financial.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I was just thinking. I can't really think of anything that would make me really want to, but I was just curious if you guys had any thoughts on that.
Great question. So they mentioned they did the mystery diner program. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
Where someone from corporate would go visit the store, order something, and I think they do twice a month. And then if the store received a perfect score twice in a row, every employee received a bonus. But yeah, I think, I guess this is kind of hard because it is go back to the numbers, but one, I think even the 16-year-olds knew what their sales goals were, where in some companies that is just so hush-hush, any item on the income statement is just so secretive against,
right.
And it's the CFO, the CEO, and the controller, whoever, that's the only people that know about it. But I mean, I think that is powerful to have transparency, as well as I think some of their general managers even got some equity based on how long they're going. They get shares in the company. Mm-hmm. That's a powerful way to do it because you take on actual ownership. So if the company does well, you can sell your shares down the road and make a profit on it. But yeah, I think they did a very good job of just establishing a company culture and focusing on their employees, which in turn helped them focus on the customers. And yeah, I was impressed by how they set it up.
Right. That's awesome. I think when you said transparency, that reminded me of the speed of trust and how that probably adds that trust, for the co-workers, all of them together, so they trust each other and make it a cohesive environment. So even if there wasn't a financial, it's good that there is, but if there wasn't, they still have that transparency, like that trust in each other. So it makes it more enjoyable to work there, definitely. So I guess that probably, ultimately, financially, it helps everywhere else. Yeah. Awesome.
Right. If they can shift the employee's paradigm, I think it helps.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so I'm not going in the list of, so bear with me because I wrote down notes like I'm hopping around because it didn't really make sense. But, so do you guys think that Noodles & Company can maintain that culture if they have the aggressive growth that they want?
I think it makes it pretty hard, as they talk about how the intense way that they will bus existing employees into a new area to train a new restaurant that's opening, and all of those brand new employees get trained by current employees. And I think that's a really effective way to be able to instill that culture. But when you have that kind of growth, are they going to have the capacity to do that intense hands-on kind of training? So that would be hard, and especially if they decided to do the franchising, I don't know how that would work. It seems like that would be really difficult to continue that kind of. I mean, you could put that in your policy manual and make sure that you tell your franchise owners that that's what you expect of them, but they're going to run the business how they want to.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about the franchising. I mean, I think it's great because, they can expand, but I feel like it would take away a lot of their true essence, I guess, like that company culture that they are so focused on keeping. It would be a lot harder to be able to do that when they don't really have control over it, because somebody else is running the show.
Right. Daniel, Bryant, do you have anything to add? Yes.
I think that company culture, as you grow, is really hard to control. But I think that it comes down to, because numbers are something every company has to focus on. Numbers, the proof is in the pudding, right? Like, it's the facts. But I think the company culture is able to be maintained if they can be consistent. Sort of like what Morgan said with it being sustainable. If they can find a way to make it sustainable with each new store opening, they can do it, and they have it mapped out like that, then I think they can maintain it. But it has to be something that's controlled. It can't be chaotic. It has to be planned.
Yep, I agree. I think all the copycats and everyone else, I think they'll just kind of self-destruct over time. I think if Noodles tried to be as aggressive as some of the other, I think it said Starbucks was going to open 540 new locations in 2003 or something, which is great. And then maybe Starbucks has that infrastructure and a streamlined process to where they can pull that off. But I think it's a lot more important to get a long-term growth strategy than just a short-term. I think franchising would be a short-term way to expand your markets very quickly. But I don't know. In Nick's case, I think in order to keep that brand the way you want it, I think you have to maintain your company and grow it as fast as your culture can grow. I think if they just kind of pick that steady course of expanding to new markets and well thought out real estate. I think restaurants can come and go pretty quick. I think Noodles, and I think cities and counties or whatever, they'll work with the company if they know that they'll want them in there. And anyways, so I think Noodles is on the right track of doing what they're doing. I don't see too many things they have to tweak or change.
Mm-hmm.
I like the way they're operating right now.
So then, what I'm gathering from you guys, it sounds like you would say being first in the market isn't as important as being the best in the market, correct? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I think
maybe both.
Yeah, if the market's already saturated, it'd definitely be harder. But I think being the best, if you can be there first, but then also be the best, that'd be the best combination.
That's right.
Yeah, I think that it's hard. It's such a hard toss-up because if they don't get into the right markets before all the other small startup, you know, because a lot of them aren't so small anymore. They're growing and they're getting bigger. And so if they don't get in there first, then the chance of them being successful, you know, decreases. But at the same time, I agree. If they're the best, then it's kind of hard for anyone to compete with them. So it'll be like Brian, like what you said. The other places would just kind of fall away, you know, because Noodles and Company would just be the best. But yeah, I don't know what I would say would be best. I think I agree. If you were first and the best, it would be best. But not getting there in time could also really have a negative impact on that franchise or that store. So.
Yeah, I think so, especially because it seems like the location is so important. So if they're late coming into the game, all of the right properties may not be available.
Exactly. And then what do? You know, they try and open up something that's like their first by a liquor store or whatever. You know, so all of the mall places left, and so it's a liquor store. People aren't going to want to go to a restaurant right next to a liquor store or whatever it is, you know. And so it's just not in a busy area. So, you know, it's hard. What do? So we're kind of going through this pretty quick, but I'm curious what you guys feel. I've heard kind of a couple of things that you guys are on the con side of it, but do you guys think that there should, or what do you think they should do now? Should they franchise? Should they stay the way that they are? What are your guys' thoughts?
Sorry. Mine was on mute, but I'd love to say I think that they should stay how they are for sake of keeping the brand. I think brand is so big. And maybe if they built the infrastructure to maintain that culture, I would be in support of franchising. But I think that a company, there's something to be said for a company that can build something on their own and maintain that type of culture and achieve those results.
Right. Before anyone keeps going, off of like franchising and the idea that that, you know, like they can get there first by franchising. What do you think would be the result of early openings? So like what Morgan was saying, having train, you know, people being sent out to train, and then doing that prematurely, I guess. Just trying to grow so quickly that they open too early. Like what would the consequences, or, you know, what would the results, I guess, if there would be positive?
It would be really detrimental to their brand. It'll, yeah.
I think I agree. I think there would be probably problems with not only the coworkers or the employees, but probably the foods too. I mean, I can't imagine being like, okay, let's go, let's open these up, and then not everything be ready, and then people come and they suffer, like the brand suffers because they don't have enough food, they don't have the right employees, they don't have, you know, it's just not consistent. And I think consistency is the key for the majority of everything, you know. But sorry, I didn't mean to abruptly change that really quickly. I just needed to sneak that in there somewhere. So keeping it would be Daniel, or like keeping it the same way. If they could change it to where it wasn't as, they could control it a little bit more, then you would say franchise. What does everyone else think? Is anyone for franchising?
No, I read an article. I was doing some research about the pros and cons of franchising, and there are some parts. Let me see if I can find the thing that really stood out to me. Just a second. Oh, doesn't really apply. It's just really risky. There's a lot of ways that it's good, but then the drawbacks are pretty significant. It just makes me nervous. But I don't know about you guys, but when I read all of the numbers in the case study about how much they got from investors and all of that other stuff, I've taken 2.5 accounting classes, and I still don't understand if they're in a good position or not. And I look over their financial statements, and I'm still not quite clear if they're in a good position or not. So I don't know if they need to franchise to be able to do their growth. Can they not go back to more investors? Can they not do a public offering? Could they get more bank loans or do that type of financing? I don't know enough to say that franchising is their only option for expansion. What do you guys think?
I think that franchising wouldn't be the only option. I mean, I think that they could go get loans. They could, but they were sitting pretty for what they were doing. But in order to hit that goal, I think franchising was one of the only options. Not the only option, but one of
the fastest.
Yeah, the fastest. And I think for what they were trying to figure out, whether they should be the first in the market or the best, franchising was the best option for being the first in areas. And for them to be able to hit that growth as fast as they needed it or as fast as they planned, I don't think that they could do it any other way. But who says that they can't just change their goals, Because in reality, it might be better to change their goals and to stay your brand rather than franchise. So, I don't know. There is one benefit that I thought of franchising is that you find talent that you wouldn't necessarily find if you didn't franchise. I mean, there may be people out there that are really good. I mean, there are people that own Jimmy John's and not Wingers. There's another barbecue place that's everywhere that franchises that people are really good at. They do a really good job, and you wouldn't necessarily find that if you didn't franchise. But I agree, it's kind of like there's less control over managers, so you can't really control what's going on. Daniel, did you have something you wanted to say?
You can always tell because I unmute, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if we look at Chick-fil-A, for example, they've mastered, in my opinion, the non-franchising way of owning a business. Because they own the business completely, but they've built in it's a mix of franchising, but not really. They're owner-operators, and they can be taken away from that at any time. It's only $5,000 to own a Chick-fil-A. They build the bill. I looked into this. I actually applied for it, and I got to the next step, and then I decided not to do it. But it's $5,000 to do it, and then they can basically fire you at any time. But you're making anywhere from $300,000 to $400,000 a year. But like I said, they own the building and everything inside of it, and you just maintain everything. And if you're not meeting their standards, then you lose your position. So I think there's a good mix where they could get people that are interested in doing it and finance the growth, and they could get other investors if they wanted to give up shares of it. But ultimately, you want to give up at least the least amount possible while growing the most.
Right.
So I just think Chick-fil-A has mastered that, and we're seeing a lot of companies today, I feel like, are starting to not want to franchise as much because they're seeing the downsides of it.
Right. The less control. I feel like the community kind of suffers when you franchise because or there's a weaker core community, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. So like there's not that sense of pride, I guess, or that sense of community, I guess, in that brand. So like Noodles and Company, if you start franchising out, it feels more of a separate entity than a full running business, I guess.
One of the oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, that's all I was going to say.
One of the cons that I read about franchising is that how it's harder to get the same level of buy-in from all your different franchise owners. They see each other more as competition instead of being team members. And so that kind of thing does tear at the brand, weaken the brand a little bit.
Right. I guess I hadn't thought of that either. Yeah. When you own your own, then... Oh, sorry, go for it.
You can finish your thought.
Oh, I was just going to say, when you own something and you have someone else own the same business down the street, you're going to be like, no, come to me, not to them, kind of thing. So it makes sense.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that either, but I think it's a good point. And somebody else brought up earlier consistency, and I think that with a franchise, it would be a lot harder to keep that consistency that they want or that they should want.
Right. I think tying it into like a spiritual side, I think it's kind of like, it reminds me of the church, honestly. I know it sounds kind of weird, but how you go anywhere to church anywhere in the world and it's consistent. And so, and you feel good because it is consistent. I think I would feel kind of like, what the heck are we doing? Why are we here if it's completely different on the other side of the country or whatever, you know? And so I feel like that builds trust, and it, you know, so if it's a business, I guess when you're looking at a business, it'll build trust with the customers. You know that you're going to get the same service, the same food everywhere you go, and so I just think it's cool. I think it's definitely a pro to have that consistency. I had one other thing, but I lost it. Does anyone else have anything else to say about that? Franchising?
Just to go along with what you're saying, yeah, along with that consistency, if they want to stick with that core vision of every guest, every bowl, every time, you know, that whole mantra is all about consistency and all about sameness. So yeah, I think it would be a little more difficult to franchise, and I think franchising, it kicks in all these regulations as well. I can't remember which act was passed. Several, I think back in 80s, 90s, 70s or something. But yeah, it just kind of brought on this whole new level of red tape and all this regulation that goes into franchising. And of course, there's always, I mean, regulations wherever you go, but I think even more so, and different liability issues and everything else that comes with franchising. And I think, yeah, I agree. I mean, maybe going public is the best thing to do. That's tough to do, obviously, and it's grueling, and it puts on this whole new level of stress to make shareholders happy. But it is an effective way to raise capital quickly. So, yeah, it's hard to say. Honestly, yeah, I just think with the restaurant business being so volatile as far as going up and down, or as far as restaurants being kicked out and coming in, I mean, just in Rexburg alone, I think I wish I could have like a restaurant turnover ratio of just like how fast they go through them in Rexburg. Just because, yeah, everyone wants to come to service the students, but yeah, you have quite a few restaurants that just come and go after about 3 years. So I think Noodles has that strong enough brand that if they go somewhere, they can stay. The real estate is an issue, though. So I think whether they wanted to try to buy out key locations and get locations quickly, and try to just have an investment. If they say, like, hey, we want this location, we don't think it's going to be ready for 5 years, lease out the building for 5 years, you know, have some rent income coming in for the time being until you're ready to open up that store, but at least you have rights to that real estate. So, I don't know. It's hard to say, but those are a few ideas.
That's actually a really good idea. I had never thought about that, but renting out, because, I mean, when you franchise, it says at the end, you know, he would need to get the franchise expert. You know, they'd have to hire a separate guy and then a separate girl or separate person for the finances for the franchise. And you know, it's just, there's so much more adding on to it. Not that it's not doable, but it's just a lot more stress. But I hadn't thought about, you know, buying out those key locations and then waiting until they're ready to do it. You know, and they will still make make something off of the real estate while it's, you know, sitting there, have it be used somewhere, but or somehow.
Yep. Even if it was vacant, you know, just buy it as an investment, and then if it doesn't go well, resell it in 3 years.
Right. So, right. That's actually kind of smart. And I like also the Chick-fil-A option too. I didn't know Chick-fil-A did it that way. I just assumed that it was franchised or not franchised. Not franchised. Yeah. I assumed that it was just business. So does that mean that the one in Rexburg is by the church or by the school?
The one that's in the school?
Yeah.
So it's same concept. It's exactly run the same way.
Now I want to do a Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, it's actually pretty easy to get into, and they're pretty. Yeah, I should have done it.
Yeah, there's no restaurants here in Alaska. Like there's a Red Robin, and that's like the
cool place.
Most recent thing. Yeah, the best place to go because there's nothing here.
And that's a franchise too.
Yeah. So maybe I'll do Chick-fil-A. But anyway, so do you guys want to know what they did?
Yes.
And
yeah.
I don't know this for you guys can correct me. I googled it. What was that?
I'm guessing they didn't franchise, but you can.
I googled it and it looks like you can franchise.
Oh really?
Huh.
There was no information in the case for me to like actually look it up, but I just googled it and I was like franchise for Noodles and Company, and it says, what does it say? It says, it tells me like including the startup costs, the franchise fees, qualifications, the growth. Like it tells me all of franchising a Noodles and Company right there. So it looks like they did franchise, which is kind of crazy. Because I don't know. I didn't think that they would, but I also don't know when they did it because it just says for 2016. So I'm not sure, but it tells me I can start my Noodles and Company business today.
They're expensive to do, and they only do it if you're willing to do 3 to 5 restaurants as a minimum.
Holy cow!
And you have to have a minimum net worth of $3 million.
Oh my gosh!
That weeds out a few people, I guess.
Yeah, that's probably why they did it. It's a good.
And so you have to have a minimum net worth of $3 million, but you have to have a minimum of $1.5 million in liquid assets.
Oh my goodness! Well, they're covering their bases, that's for sure.
Sorry,
wow.
I just that.
Wow. Thank you for looking that up. I wouldn't have known how to find that stuff because, yeah. Anyway.
I think I remember somewhere in the case study was talking about how they wanted people who were experienced. When I was talking about we could franchise, but they really wanted people who had some experience and that they knew could be successful with their business. So I guess it's smart that they put those requirements in because somebody who's got that kind of money, they obviously know how to run businesses.
Right. Or they've got
the lottery.
If they
or they won the lottery.
Yeah. That's so interesting. I kind of wish that they hadn't because it's just a cool concept to keep your own brand and to stick it out, but at the same time, if they need to expand and they don't have the time to do it or the space, then they got to do what they got to do.
Would be interesting to see how many franchises they have as compared to how many company-owned stores they have. Because, maybe they may only have, less than 10% of their stores actually franchised out. I don't know. That's a good question. Looks like, based on the Wealth of All Knowledge Wikipedia, looks like they also went public. So
they did.
You can buy stock and find out.
Yeah, they operate over 450 across the country. And it actually doesn't tell you how many they have. Not in this article, anyway. So I don't know. That's interesting. That'd be interesting to know. Well, that's all I have.
I have a question.
What?
Yeah, I have a question. So in all of the other case studies, the problems were easy to identify because it seemed like there were so many, and they were all like interpersonal kinds of problems. I am stumped because I don't know what to say their problems are.
I was going to do franchising, like the problem of deciding. That was one that I thought of. It's easy to write on. It's easy to quote,
Locations, maybe.
What?
Locations as well. Maybe it could be another problem.
Yeah. Competition.
Maybe I'll write these down as we're talking about them.
That's what I'm doing.
Or the
Correct.
idea,
Their culture.
yeah, deciding the concept of best in market or first in market. Maybe that's a problem.
Yeah, I guess I didn't think of like actually divvying it up, doing locations, competition, culture, best or first. Yeah.
Here's
Those are
something kind of interesting. Looks like they now, I'll have to pull a recent menu, but back in 2003 or whatever, it's only noodles and salad, or I guess, yeah, noodles, and then they had 3 actually like lettuce salads, but now they do like sandwiches and all other sorts of stuff, soups.
Yeah, it looks like pizzas and burritos.
What?
Yeah.
That's not noodly.
I think that was stuff they
We have
didn't
lots
do.
of
Maybe not.
Oh, maybe it is. I don't know.
I'll have to look.
Oh, maybe you're right. I don't know.
Let me pull a menu.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, they got all sorts of stuff.
That's crazy.
Soup, salad, sandwiches, desserts. Okay.
Interesting.
Have you guys ever been there before?
I have.
I have once. Have you guys?
I haven't.
It's good.
Oh, is it?
I don't remember it really. It wasn't
I've been there
all that
twice.
good.
I've been there twice, and the first time it was really good, and then the second time I was really disappointed.
Yeah.
But
I just remember mine being like, eh. So it wasn't like, oh, I really want to go back. It was just kind of like, okay, that was okay.
I'm putting both of those quotes in my problems. Amy and Mar were unsatisfied.
Awesome. Anyone need any more problems? Do we need to go over more?
Any more problems in their life?
I'm good.
I'm good as well.
Yeah, I'm good now. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Anyone have anything for the good of the cause?
I actually like that we talked about that, by the way. Can I just say that?
Yes, I agree.
It'll be helpful.
I think we should add that to our discussion.
Yeah.
Good call, Morgan.
Although we don't have one next week, right?
Right.
Right.
Okay. So it's just the week after.
Has anybody looked at the assignments for next week? What are we doing instead?
I have no idea.
Haven't looked.
I'll pull it up.
It's just a free week. We're not doing anything.
Party.
I wish.
Lesson 11.
So there's still a case study.
Yeah.
Patagonia, cool.
Patagonia?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet.
It's an Alaskan brand, isn't it?
Yeah, I actually don't know if it's Alaskan, but we use it all the time. I love it.
There's just no, there's a case study like everyone said. There's just no group.
Yeah.
Report.
Maybe he's going to like
I
surprise
wonder if it's
someone.
like not a discussing kind of case. I don't know. I
Yeah,
hope not, because that would be hard. A case.
There's responses. There's not.
It's not a write-up, yeah.
That's not a write-up.
Okay, so you just write responses. That's nice.
Yeah, so
That'll be fun.
it says, yeah, exactly. We won't be writing a case study. We'll be doing, like they said, just essay format questions.
Huh, cool.
Sweet.
Well, do you want me to just post the link?
Oh yeah, if
That'd
you
be
could, that'd
awesome.
be sweet.
I will do that.
Thank you.